In a previous video, the link to which you can see on the screen now, I talked about the need to look at your slide deck from the audience's perspective rather than your own, because you understand the slides inside out, but for most of them it's probably the first time they've ever seen them, and that therefore you need to simplify the slides and make them basic and very easy to understand. Now, in my two-day seminars, on day one I asked people to give me a brief presentation in order to gauge their level of expertise. And they normally give me the first 5 minutes of a standard company presentation. And I'm very often amazed at the complexity of the slides used. And very often I can't link what's on the screen with what's being said by the presenter. Now, the link is completely obvious to them, but to me, because I'm seeing the slides for the first time, I just can't see it, and I just can't understand the slides because there's far too much on them. They're just too complex, too detailed. I think one of the reasons for this is that people almost have a fetish nowadays for trying to reduce the number of slides in their presentation. They take great joy in saying, I'm not going to keep you long, I've only got 6 slides to go through, as if that in itself is a good thing. Nobody wants to say, you're going to love this, I've got 30 slides for you. But what they do is they take 30 slides worth of information and they cram it onto 6. Now, 6 incredibly detailed ones takes exactly the same time to go through as 30 basic ones. They're just not as good at communicating the points that you want to get across. The number of slides is irrelevant. What's important is how long the presentation lasts, and providing you stay within your allotted time frame, whether you use 6 or you use 30 is completely irrelevant. The second reason people tend to have incredibly complex slides is that they get mixed up between slides and the presentation handout. Effectively, they prepare the presentation handout first, and because this is going to be shown by people, maybe to other people who haven't seen the presentation, they want there to be a lot of information in this. And so the handout is very detailed, but what they then do is make slides from the handout. Now, the handout and the slides are two completely different things. The handout can be as detailed as you like. In fact, put all the detail on there because you're not there to give them that detail. You want to make sure that they remember it. But you prepare the slides first, and then secondly, prepare a handout. Let me illustrate this by using someone as an example, Steve Jobs, who most people consider to be a master of communication. At one conference, he was talking about the initial success of the iPad, and he had 7 pieces of data, 7 facts that he wanted to get over to the audience. Now, I've included all 7 here in bullet point form on one slide because that's how the vast majority of presenters would have presented them. The better presenters would have built the slides and had the bullets come up one by one so that they controlled what the audience was looking at. The poorer presenters, and this would be probably over 50%, would just whack them all up on screen all at once, thereby completely giving up all control and virtually ensuring that their points didn't get across. Because if every single point is on the slide at the same time, while you're reading point 1, the audience will be on bullet point 3 or 4 because they can read the slide quicker than you can read it out. And by the time you're down on point 3 or 4, they've finished and mentally they're just thinking, okay, nothing more to see here, let's move along, what's next? Now, bullet points should never be full, long, grammatically correct sentences, they should be abbreviated. You add the information to the bullet point. In effect, your words are the flesh, the bullet point is the bones. If you do it like this, all the audience will ever see is the bones. They will never listen to the flesh. Now, let's just look how it's done properly. Let's see how Steve Jobs did it.
Now, I'd like to give you a few updates to start with, and I'd like to start with the iPad. We sold over 2 million iPads. We sold 2 million in the first 59 days. That's 1 every 3 seconds. So, we are in iPads now in 10 countries. We just started shipping in 9 of those 10 countries in the last 2 weeks. We're in 10 countries today. We're going to be in 19 by the end of July, and we thank everybody for their patience. We're making iPads as fast as we possibly can. So there are now 8,500 native iPad apps in the App Store, which is really great. And of course, the iPad can run over 200,000 of the iPhone apps that are there as well. And these 8,500 native apps have been downloaded over 35 million times. And so if you divide that by those 2 million iPads out there, that's about 17 apps per iPad that have already been downloaded. That's a great number. That's a great number. So we're really thrilled with that.
Now, isn't that more effective? He used 7 slides, but each slide communicated one point. Now, think about it. He used 7 slides instead of 1. But using 7 slides took the same length of time as using the 1 slide with the 7 bullet points. But which method do you think was more effective in getting the points across? I don't think there's any real argument about that, is there? So again, forget the number of slides. It's irrelevant. More simple slides are better than fewer complex ones.